Frank Caprio, known to millions around the world as the kind-hearted judge who made justice feel human, passed away on August 20, 2025, at the age of 88. His death came after a long and brave fight against pancreatic cancer, a disease he had been open about since his diagnosis in late 2023. In his final days, he shared one last message with the public, telling them he had suffered a setback in his health and gently asking to be remembered in their prayers. The following morning, news of his passing spread quickly, and an extraordinary outpouring of grief and gratitude followed. People who had never set foot in his courtroom felt the loss as if they had lost a member of their own family. His warmth, his humor, and his rare ability to mix authority with compassion had made him a figure of almost mythical gentleness. His death marked the end of a remarkable life, but also the continuation of a legacy that will endure for generations. The story of Frank Caprio is not simply the story of a judge or a television personality. It is the story of a man who lived his life with humility, rising from modest beginnings to become a national figure, all the while remaining deeply rooted in his community. His journey began in Providence, Rhode Island, where he was born on November 24, 1936. The son of Italian immigrants Antonio and Filomena Caprio, he grew up in the Federal Hill neighborhood, an area that was rich in culture but not in wealth. As a boy, he worked shining shoes, delivering newspapers, and washing dishes. These were not just chores or odd jobs, they were early lessons in the dignity of hard work, the struggles of ordinary families, and the importance of perseverance. Those lessons never left him. Long before he ever sat on the bench, Caprio knew what it meant to struggle, and that empathy became the defining feature of his later career. Education became his path forward. He graduated from Providence College in 1958, a milestone that was the product of relentless determination. At the same time, he was already giving back to his community. He taught American government at Hope High School, inspiring students to understand not only how politics worked, but why it mattered. While teaching during the day, he attended Suffolk University Law School in Boston at night, a grueling schedule that he never once complained about. The image of him leaving the classroom and rushing off to his law studies has the feel of a movie scene, the hard-working son of immigrants, balancing jobs and education, determined to make something of himself. He also served in the Rhode Island Army National Guard, further proof of his sense of responsibility and duty to both his community and his country. Public service was always at the core of who he was. In 1962, at just 26 years old, Caprio was elected to the Providence City Council. For 6 years he served his hometown, building a reputation as a thoughtful and fair-minded public servant. Later, he served as chair of the Rhode Island Board of Governors for Higher Education, where he fought to make educational opportunities more accessible to the people of his state. He also made an unsuccessful run for Attorney General in 1970, but rather than discouraging him, the setback only reinforced his belief in perseverance. Caprio never defined himself by victories or defeats. What mattered most to him was the chance to serve, the opportunity to use his talents and voice to improve the lives of others. In 1985, his career took the turn that would shape the rest of his life when he was appointed to the Providence Municipal Court. From that year forward, Frank Caprio became not only a judge but an institution in Providence. He remained on the bench for nearly 40 years, eventually serving as Chief Judge, before retiring in 2023 with the honorary title of Chief Judge Emeritus. His courtroom became something more than a place of rulings, it became a space where humanity was seen and acknowledged. What made Caprio so extraordinary as a judge was not the severity of his sentences or his mastery of the law, but rather the compassion with which he applied it. He understood that behind every parking ticket, every traffic violation, there was a person, often with a story far more complicated than the infraction on paper. For him, a single mother unable to pay a fine was not simply a case number but a woman struggling to provide for her children. A senior citizen cited for speeding was not just a reckless driver but a human being who might be navigating the challenges of old age and responsibility. Time and again, Caprio leaned on his instinct to treat people with dignity. His philosophy of justice reached a global audience through the television program Court in Providence. What began as a local cable access experiment grew into a phenomenon. The show brought real cases from his courtroom into the living rooms of millions. The cases themselves were often mundane: parking tickets, minor violations, unpaid fines. But under Caprio's guidance, they became stories of humanity, resilience, and forgiveness. Clips of the show spread across social media, where they quickly went viral. People around the world watched him dismiss fines for struggling parents, laugh warmly with nervous young defendants, or praise an elderly man for taking care of his sick child. One especially memorable case involved a 96-year-old driver who explained that he had been speeding while taking his son to a doctor's appointment. Rather than chastising the man, Caprio applauded him for his devotion and dismissed the ticket. That small act of compassion resonated deeply, viewed millions of times online and replayed in countless tributes after his death. The internet age turned this municipal court judge from Providence into a global figure. His YouTube channel drew millions of subscribers, and his videos collectively reached more than 1 billion views. Court in Providence earned multiple Daytime Emmy nominations, and Caprio himself became known as the nicest judge in the world. For him, the fame was never the goal. He often laughed in disbelief at the idea that his simple philosophy, treating people with kindness, could be seen as extraordinary. For him, it was just common sense. But for a world often hungry for hope, his courtroom became a sanctuary of decency. Caprio's personal life was just as rich as his public one. He married his wife Joyce, with whom he shared 60 years of companionship, love, and mutual support. Together they raised 5 children, and the couple eventually became grandparents to 7 grandchildren and great-grandparents to 2 more. For Caprio, family was everything. He often spoke with pride about his children's achievements and never missed an opportunity to credit his wife as the anchor of his life. He remained deeply tied to his Italian-American roots, founding the Antonio Tup Caprio Scholarship Fund at Suffolk University School of Law in honor of his father. He contributed generously to scholarships at Providence College and other institutions, ensuring that young people would have opportunities he himself had to fight so hard to secure. His philanthropic spirit extended far beyond education. He worked with organizations like the Rhode Island Food Bank and Boys Town of Italy, among many others. These efforts reflected the same principle that guided his rulings: those who are blessed with opportunity have a responsibility to lift others up. His recognition was widespread. Suffolk University awarded him an honorary doctorate in 1991, and Providence College followed with its own in 2008. In 2023, the city of Providence renamed a courthouse in his honor, cementing his place not only in memory but in the physical fabric of the city he loved. The later years of his life were marked by both hardship and grace. In December 2023, he revealed to the public that he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. His announcement was not delivered with self-pity but with gratitude for the care he was receiving and humility in asking for prayers. Many were moved not only by his honesty but by the way he continued to focus outward, expressing concern for others even in the midst of his own struggles. By May of 2024, he had completed radiation treatments, and for a time there was hope that he might recover. But in the summer of 2025, his health declined sharply. On August 19, he appeared in a video one final time, telling the world that he had suffered a setback and once again asking to be remembered in prayer. Less than 24 hours later, he was gone. The grief that followed his death was immense. Rhode Island's governor ordered flags flown at half-staff, calling him a treasure of the state and a symbol of empathy in public service. Across the country and the world, people shared clips of his courtroom rulings, re-watching the moments that had first captured their hearts. For many, these short videos became a way of mourning, a way of holding on to the man whose kindness had touched them. The comment sections of these videos filled with personal stories from people who had never met him but felt changed by his example. In an era where anger and division often dominate public discourse, Caprio's compassion stood out as a rare and shining light. The legacy of Frank Caprio cannot be measured only by the cases he presided over or the television awards his show received. His true legacy is the way he changed the way people think about justice. He proved that authority does not have to be cold, that justice does not have to be merciless. He showed that listening is as important as ruling, that compassion is not a weakness but a form of strength. For the countless people who watched him, whether in Providence or across the globe, he became a reminder that kindness matters, and that even in positions of power, it is possible to lead with humanity. Frank Caprio's death closed the final chapter of a remarkable life, but it did not end his story. His influence continues in the judges who cite him as inspiration, in the students who receive scholarships in his name, and in the millions who rewatch his videos and are reminded to be gentler with one another. From the streets of Providence where he once shined shoes to the courtroom where he became a global symbol of compassion, his life traced a path of resilience, service, and love. He is remembered not just as a judge but as a husband, a father, a grandfather, a teacher, a philanthropist, and most importantly, as a human being who never forgot where he came from. His laughter, his warmth, and his ability to make others feel seen and respected will continue to echo long after his passing. Frank Caprio taught us that justice, at its best, is about more than laws. It is about people. It is about listening, understanding, and extending grace where it is needed most. He showed the world that a single act of kindness can ripple outward in ways unimaginable, and in doing so, he left behind not only a memory but a movement toward a kinder world.